everyone. Today we got to play It's a Wonderful Kingdom Legends. So this is a spin-off of one of our favorite games of last year.
Well, it's from more than that. Last year. It came out two years ago.
Well,
but it's
one of our
family favorites.
Yeah, one of our family favorites. So we were super excited because this is a two-player, so this is perfect for me and Randy to get out and see if we liked it.
And this is the Kickstarter edition, so it comes with the slipcover and some additional components.
Yeah, so before we dig into quality components, Randy, tell us about this game.
Before they do that, why don't you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell down there so you can make sure you stay up to date on all of our game reviews. We got tons to go through. We got brand new ones, old ones, way old ones. So lots to enjoy.
Lots of fun, lots of fun.
All right, so this is our first release of 2022. The others we've gotten since 2022 started have been 2021 releases that technically came out in 2022, but they were still technically released in 2021.
Yeah.
This is our first official 2022 release.
It's so pretty.
Yes, the box is beautiful. It's a Wonderful Kingdom is currently rated at 7.8 on Board Game Geek. It's got a rank of 3,080, 1 to 2 players, 45 to 60 minutes, age 14 up. We actually played base Wonderful World with Sarah, and we've had to help her, but she's able to play, and she's now 8.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more difficult, though.
Yeah, this is a little more complex, but I don't know about 14.
I don't know about 14 either. I would say 10.
10 to 12, I think, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Designed by Frederic Girard, art by Anthony Wolff, and published by La Boîte de Jeux. I'm assuming I probably mispronouncing that because I don't speak French.
You probably butchered that.
I probably did. I probably just cursed someone for the rest of their life in French.
All right, so are we ready to dig into quality pieces?
Yes, I am.
So, like you said, this is a Kickstarter. So they created the things that we made.
Well, they've done that for the last. All the Kickstarter versions of this have come with little plastic clear containers. These are probably my least favorite of the plastic clear containers. The others were all round bowls. These are kind of... No, they're not even square. They're more like stretched out stop signs. But my fat fingers have trouble getting in there or getting them. I had a lot of accidents while I was trying to get pieces out.
You tipped over everything.
I finally just gave up and just took the tokens and would just dump them out because trying to get into there
guys,
to get them.
It was hilarious. He was just all over the place. And then you also have these wooden knight tokens.
Those are pretty cool.
So they're pretty thick on the wood piece, and then I don't know if they're screen printed.
No, that's not. It's like a sticker, but it's been heat transferred basically.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Card quality. Not linen finish, but thickness is okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much comparable to what you get with the It's a Wonderful World. It did come with sleeves with the Kickstarter.
Oh.
I've already misplaced them in the transfer for Sarah's party of everything, so they're somewhere. But yeah, there are sleeves for them. I need to find.
Okay. Interesting though, they have these metal tokens.
Yeah, they're really cool.
For traps, and we don't know what the other ones are for yet because we only played the first scenario.
We played a scenario. There's not really a first one per se.
We did a scenario. So they're heavy metal coins, and they're freaking humongo.
Yeah. And the Kickstarter has a second rule book that has additional scenarios, and I think that's where the board comes in because there's actually these boards for different things. We have like little cards that give you looks like rules. I don't know if these are for the solo play or if they're for additional ones, but they have these boards, and one being a big board, and they're really pretty.
Well, what are you doing?
But it's got area control aspects, I believe.
Oh, interesting.
Which I know is your favorite. But that's why I think these wooden knights come in, the red and the blue knights. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. They got these different scenarios to play that totally change the dynamics of the game. I mean, you still have the foundation being the same, although there is one major difference, which we'll get into when we get to gameplay.
So what was the price point for this?
So for the Kickstarter, it was 66 euros, I believe, which I'm not sure what the translation to that is in dollars, but probably about 70, 75 bucks is my guess. I don't see it listed on our usual Kickstarter or not non-Kickstarter locations like Card House or Miniature Market or those sites.
So it's really new.
Yeah. So the Kickstarter comes with the outer shell box, which you're not going to get if you get the retail. It's going to be just something like that.
Oh, which looks much more like the original.
And then you're not going to have the boards. You might not have some of the upgraded pieces, probably not the coins. There are cardboard bits in there, so I'm assuming these replace some of the coins and metal stuff. Because we didn't use them. I'm sure there might be a use for them.
Down the road.
Yeah, but I don't think you'll get quite as nice pieces in there. This came with storage boxes for all the different things, and then these trays. Typically, you don't get that; you just get them in baggies, and So I suspect that this one is going to be probably in around the $40 to $50 range, like the other ones were when it comes out retail, but it won't be nearly as nice.
Yeah. So. All right, so give it a score. What did you think overall for, I guess, the Kickstarter version of this?
I'm pretty impressed with the stuff that is in here. I mean, the cubes are nothing different. They're just normal. But as far as the coins, those coins are really nice.
Yeah.
I like the wood knights. I like that even these wood knights are pretty cool. And the fact that it's got the boards in there. I'm going to probably go ahead and give this maybe an 8.5.
Okay, cool. I'm probably going to give it an 8. I think card quality, where this is a card-focused game, could have been a little bit better. Even though they did include sleeves, so I guess that kind of... I'll stick with an 8. All right, so now let's talk about theme. So the theme is you have a kingdom, and you're going against other kingdoms.
Yeah, so they veered away from the dystopian world, although it's kind of a dystopian kingdom instead. So you've got kind of bad things happening all throughout the kingdom, but some of the cards are bright and vibrant, and others are more...
Like there's a nice pretty hamlet.
Yeah.
And the treasure, and then a port. So it's all cool.
But you've got all these creatures and things and traps and things. It feels much more Dungeons and Dragons-y than I would say dystopian.
Tax office, now that's dystopia.
Yeah, definitely dystopia. Especially this time of year.
Amen to that. All right.
So yeah, I definitely, I think, they've done quite a transition in theme from The Wonderful World in this game. But it fits, I think, the two-player scenarios. I like the fact that they diversified the game, and it's got a lot more going on with the game. As far as I like the creature elements and the traps and the treasures. And
yeah, so I will say I do. Well, that's more gameplay. All right, so but theme wise, what would you rate?
Well, and we didn't even talk about the art yet. The art is as always, beautiful. I mean, it was beautiful in It's a Wonderful World. It's the same kind of art, only transferred to a more fantasy setting in this.
Which I like better, so.
So the art is beautiful. I'm probably going to go ahead thematically and give this a 9.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. I'm probably, the art is really fantastic. But the thing is all I know is I'm a kingdom. So I'm probably going to give this an 8 for me for theme. All right, so now let's talk about Rulebook.
All right, so there's
a paragraph you read to me that I thought was, you called it out saying that it was kind of counterintuitive. Here's the rules, but it's not really the rules.
Well, yeah, at the very beginning when it starts out, the following rules teach you the basics of how the game works. However, you will never play the game this way. So right away, I was like, okay, that's kind of the first sentence in the book. Once you turn into the inside, the cover is only a partial cover, so it only goes right into the contents and the goal and everything on the cover. But when you first get in, the first sentence is, these are the rules, but you won't ever play this way, which is kind of a strange way to start your rule book out. But basically what they're saying is they're teaching you the standard flow of the game and then adding the scenarios in after, and you have to add a scenario in.
Yeah.
So we've played It's a Wonderful World so many times, the basic flow of the game just followed mostly what we've already familiar with. There's one big change in the game, and that's normally this is a drafting game, and It's a Wonderful World. It doesn't work that way in this because it's 2-player. So they modified it so it's basically a split the deck type game where I decide what cards go into 2 piles. You pick one. And in this case, I don't even get the other one. It stays out there, and then you place your piles out, and I get to pick from those. So alternating until we burn our hand. So it's kind of a strange change to the game, but I think that's the only way they could do it with 2 players. But we'll get more into that in the gameplay. But as far as the rulebook, it's laid out okay. It's just it's kind of a weird way to start the book off, I think. There's a solo plays in here. It does play 1 or 2 players, so there is a solo mode. We don't play solo, so I don't know how that's going to play. And then there's 3 different modules in the actual book for 2-player, and then in the Kickstarter there is a separate rule book that adds more scenarios. So it's got 5 different additional modules, or at least modification. I think it's really the same 3 with the Kickstarter added cards in here, and then 2 more different modules.
Okay.
And that's where the board comes in. So all in all, it's effective. It's not great. I'll go ahead and give it a 7.5.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, so now let's talk about gameplay. So you first deal out 7 cards to each player, and you also will add one of the... Well, it actually depends on the scenario,
it's going to depend on which module. The module we played is adding in basically a monster into each player.
Yes, you'll end up taking one and putting that into your hand with 7. And every drafting section, you're going to place 2 of the cards. Now, you can place them on either side of the board. You can put 2 in one, 0 in the other, or 1 in one. But you have to place 2 cards in that round. When you place, your opponent chooses which stack that they want. Now, there is an ability to hide the cards. So you start out every round with 2 trap cards. And so you can choose whether to have it face down so they can't see it. So this gives you a little bit of opportunity to hide the monster so you don't end up drafting it. Or it might be hiding a good card that you want, or it could be used trying to mess up your opponent. Like sometimes I used it to have him think that the monster was there, so he wouldn't take a pile, and then I would be able to take the pile, or it was kind of that playback, or that's what I did to hide the monster, right? Yeah. So it kept it a little bit interesting as far as this particular scenario went. And then once you get 4 drafts, so you get to choose the cards 4 times. The rest of the cards are discarded, so there'll be 1 stack that gets discarded. And then this part of the game is very much the old It's a Wonderful World. And the fact that you get to choose whether to keep the cards or discard them for the resource up in the top left corner. And then once you choose whether to do that or not, and then you can get your income, and you start out with grays. Now, there is a little bit of difference, is whoever gets the most grays, and still, instead of getting a token, your troops will go in the training, okay? And if you get the token again, they come out of training into your thing. So you need these troops. They're a lot more valuable than those +1 tokens in the fact that they defeat monsters. So it was very...
But they don't actually give you points in this.
No, they don't, but they prevent you from getting negative points.
Yes, they kill the creatures. So they add a phase at the end of the after you've done your construction of combat, where you fight the monsters, and that's what the tokens are for. So the monsters, each one has their own different scenario, but they all have a kills count of how many nights it takes to defeat them.
Yeah, so I actually thought that was actually a really cool component, is that I liked the fact that you're gaining this other resource to just try to defend your kingdom if you didn't select well. Like you took the monsters at the very beginning of the game, and I was able to build those up, but in the end I had some left over. So I thought that was a really interesting component to that piece.
Well, plus they gave you a ton of different monsters. I mean, there's lots of different combinations in there, so there's a lot of variety.
They all have separate abilities.
Yeah.
So your rats will swarm, right? But then the frost giants, they restrict access to your building, right? So you have to have all the resources on a building, and then you have to have enough knights to defeat it for you to unlock that card to be able to use it. So I put them on end of game victory points that I was going to get at the end of the game, which worked out. But what if you didn't have enough, right? Yeah. And so you would end up losing that opportunity for that building. So that's kind of thing to keep in mind. And the other monsters have different abilities, and so I thought that was really interesting and cool. And then you play 4 rounds, just like you do in It's a Wonderful World, and then you do victory points. The scoring is practically the same. The one thing, me personally, I did not like the drafting way they did it this time. I know you did.
Well, I just don't think they had a choice. I don't think you can, with 2 players, you can't really have, I draft one and pass it to you and you pick one. It doesn't work out nearly as well. And so I think this scenario works well, and I like the fact that I think the tokens that let you hide the cards make it where it makes sense.
See, I was fine if they had done it the way Belfast did is you put, basically you put it out there, you get one and I get one, and then we do it again. Like, that made sense to me. But to where you, like, with that one time we ended up throwing away like 5 cards, or, I don't know. I just...
Yeah. I think it's just different. I mean, I don't know if it'll grow on you or not, but it's definitely different. And I've seen, we just
I think the thing is I don't like doing this. That mechanic against you is a pain in the butt. Because I'm not a good bluffer, and you are, and so you annoy me. And so, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if it's particularly... I don't think I would like the mechanic regardless, but when I'm playing it against you, it just seems kind of hopeless.
I don't know, you got me with the monsters the first few rounds where I ended up having to take them.
I know, because you like nice things, and so I made sure to prepare nice things with the monsters.
But, I mean, I thought that was a neat dynamic. Now, this was just the one module, and you've got the traps that replace the monsters if you're playing one of the other modules. So there's, lots of different scenarios in this game, and I like the variety in it. Yeah. Do I like it as well as It's a Wonderful World? No, I don't. It's not as good, in my opinion. Now, for those people who have not watched It's a Wonderful World review or not played It's a Wonderful World, the way we kind of breezed over the mechanics of it, but basically after we go through and do the drafting, if you will, I wouldn't call this drafting in this game, you get the cards, you have to decide immediately, once you've got them all accumulated, am I going to try to produce these, or am I going to basically sacrifice the card to get a resource that's in the upper corner? So what this game introduces into that are cards that are treasure cards that you can burn. You have to burn. You have no choice but burn them, but they double the resources that are in the upper corner. So it gives you more capability of building those buildings.
I gotta say that double purple and that double yellow wasn't too bad.
It was super nice.
I was like, oh, look at that. I needed some extra purple and yellow.
and speaking of purple, in the base game, there is no purple. There's green and black. And this one takes one color out of the picture. It's only 4 colors and the red tokens. So they reduced the number of rounds or phases per round because they took out one of the colors and replaced it with a new color, which you didn't have any problem with it being purple.
I'm totally fine with it being purple, guys. Like, I was like, yay, purple. Then Randy's like, we can't play with it, but that doesn't mean I can't collect it, Randy.
That's right, which you did. You effectively collected purple.
Okay, so here's what's funny. I did not want to collect purple. I had literally had production for blue and yellow, but yet you kept giving me, I don't want to give you these purple. And I'm thinking, I don't really want purple, but you kept taking the other stack, and it was so annoying. I was like, you take that purple. I don't actually. I was building for yellow and blue, and you just jacked it all up. And I was like, well, I guess I'm doing purple now, but it was a little late. But we were 10 points, I guess, apart, so it wasn't horrible, but still. I I was one little token away from getting another purple, which would have given me 9 points, and then we would have been one away. I would have felt a little bit better, but not really, because I still would have lost. But, you know, it was close. Yeah. It was a close game.
So, yeah, I mean, the flow of the game and the mechanics of the game are very similar to It's a Wonderful World. If you've played that, you will have no problems learning this game. If you haven't played it, it's still not that difficult to learn.
No.
It's definitely, I would call this a light to medium, probably a little more towards the medium game than what the...
Well, because of the added components to this, and the scenario base, because you'll have to figure out each scenario as you play them. But I think it does add a lot. And I think for a 2-player, I think it adds a little bit extra, so it's manageable at 2-player. Like, if we were going to play this versus It's a Wonderful World 2-player, I might choose this.
So, yeah, I mean, personally, I think that it'll grow on me. I think this, I don't like it as well now. I don't know if I'll ever like it as well, but I don't hate it. I think it's still a high, I'd say a high 8 for me. It's probably an 8.5 is where I'm at. I think this It's a Wonderful World, it was like 9.5 to 10 range for me. This one, I think, is more 8.5.
I kind of agree with you. I don't think this, for me, it doesn't sit as well. But then, really, the only reason why I say that, because I like the monster cards, I like the different scenarios. I do not like the way the drafting worked. You know, and so, you know, it is what it is, and I get why they did it. I don't like it. So, and that's okay, right? And we can there's, you know, everyone can dislike something, but I still think it's a great game overall. And so, I'm with you at the 8 mark.
So, yeah, I think that it, you know, basically, if you're in a pinch and want to play a game of It's a Wonderful World and you only have 2 players, this is a great option. It's a fun game. It's got a lot of growth in it. You're not going to get bored of this game quickly because there's just a lot of options.
Well, I can see if you're just, when most of your game nights are 2 players, being able to get this out and do different things with it. And so I could appreciate this for what this is, and which is why it's an 8, right? It's not like it's a crappy, you know, it's a good score. It's just when you're used to perfection.
Yeah, and I will say, if I'm going to pick one up, get the Kickstarter, because it's got so much more to meat to it. I would not want the base game, especially if you are a fan of It's a Wonderful World, if you like we are. I mean, this was a day one back. As soon as I heard it was coming, I was watching Kickstarter religiously to make sure that I got in as soon as it came out. So, this is one that there was no way I was missing out on. So, if you are a diehard It's a Wonderful World, you've already got it probably. If you are not a diehard fan of It's a Wonderful World, but you have played it and enjoy it, this is still a good buy. If you didn't like It's a Wonderful World, you probably aren't going to like this one either.
This pointless. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast today. Hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.